Hi, I'm Amy Shannon, and I am author of Reminiscence of Ballstown, Echoes and Whispers of Forgotten Legacies. This is a recently published book. It was published on April 6th. I have been wanting to do some book events, and I haven't been able to. So I am actually going to do some readings from this one and also from the cookbook, Ballstown, a Pioneer's Cookbook, and also share some insights, some information, and why this is so important to me. It seems that, and I've noticed it, that this is the subject that gets me excited and even while I'm still grieving for the loss of my dad, even though I lost him a long time ago, his spirit, um, his soul was gone, but he's at peace now. And this is something that he would really enjoy talking to me about. I could picture myself just sitting with my dad, sharing these stories and him reading them and making notes. And he wrote notes on every little scrap of paper he could possibly write notes on. And I could see us just having grand conversations over this. Um, so I dedicated this book to my family, including my father. Um, and that was way before he had passed. Um, and I want to get back into, I think this is the book that I wanted to promote so much and share it with people the most. And I'm a bit behind, but I want to move forward and try to do what my dad would want me to continue doing. So I have this book in my hand. Um, I wanted to do a book event, but at this point, I don't have the money to purchase extra books and then do a book signing. So some of my book events, such as readings and maybe even a book signing, may be virtual, but that just we'll see what happens. So this is the first video in a series of videos that I will be doing, and I'll be talking about I'll be doing some reading. I'll be talking about some of my research and what I really love about the history of our town. Um, so I'm going to just start out with a quick reading of Reminiscence of Ballstown. And I have, I want to start out with, let me see, it's very interesting. So I'm going to start off with just reading the preface because I think that is one of those things that it kind of will introduce you to me and to the stories. So this is the preface. The book began with footsteps, soft ones, careful ones, through old cemeteries with my mother Sue and my maternal grandmother Rowena. We wandered among the stones, reading each name aloud, curious about them, and always searching for the oldest one. It seemed usual to me. It was revered, a quiet ritual passed down through generations, teaching me to listen to history with the feet on the earth and my heart open. The stories in these pages are drawn from those walks and from the archives I've come to know like old friends. Newspaper clippings, mission boxes, supper menus, and obituaries. I'm a contributor to findagrave.com, where I add memorials for those who are missing, link family members across generations, and update entries with the information I've gathered. If I cannot find someone, I do my best to ensure that they are remembered and connected to their kin. Some women profiled here aren't even footnotes in history. So I trace their families, listen to the echoes of those who love them, and make careful, educated inferences about who they might have been. Accuracy matters. I use multiple resources to confirm the details, and when something cannot be verified, I will make a note of it. Where photographs could not be found, I created silhouettes, so even in absence, their shadow leaves a mark. Not everyone has portraits or paintings made. Even those who held public office sometimes left no image behind. I found a few photos by chance, nestled in old books or concealed on trustworthy websites. This book is a walk through memory. Certain existences stretched out, while others ended in a flash of sadness. Some names are nearly forgotten, others still echo in local memory. I have included photos of headstones and gravestones, not to mourn, but to remember. Those stones are not just markers, they're echoes. I've learned that even if you've never heard someone, it didn't mean that their life didn't matter. I hope this book is unlike any you've ever read. It's a tribute to lives lived and lives unlived, a gentle light cast on lost shadows. It is my way of continuing the walk. I hope you'll join me. So that is just a opening of the preface for the Reminiscences of Ballstown, uh, Echoes and Whispers of Forgotten Legacies. What happens is a lot of times I've found very small pieces of a um, a woman's life. There were um, women who, and I hate categorizing women, and I hated that it's not that they matter or they don't matter. Um, but I found that there are several, excuse me, I found there are several types of um, women, not just in society, but um, just as more than just being a mother, a sister, a daughter, an aunt, um, more than being a wife, a single woman who I refer to in the book as maidens, and also um, various societal categories, such as, you know, pioneer women, farmers' wives, merchants' wives, traders' wives, um, wives who uh, are widowed, wives who, women who have lost children, women who have lost their life and their sister, um, feeling the obligation to come in and to the family home and take care of the woman's child. And eventually, um, sometimes they end up marrying her sister's husband so that they can be a mother and a wife and continue on the duties of each um, each woman, no matter and every woman, no matter what their society, their role was in society, in their home, they they had to work. They took care of their children. They had to make sure meals were on the table. They got up ahead of anyone else in the family, and usually they were the last ones to go to bed in the evening. Sometimes just taking a few moments before they went to bed to read or do some mending, just sitting there rocking by the fire, the hearth, the fireplace. Um, there were, if you were a single woman, who, like I said, I call a maiden instead of where some people would use the word spinster. Um, it's about where they would live, what kind of things they would do, what their jobs may entail. Um, because if you were a single woman, you had to have a job to support yourself. Many lived in boarding houses, and where they lived among other women that were in the same position. Their jobs usually were had something to do with either being a secretary, a teacher, a seamstress, um, simple things like that to earn a living. if they owned property, it was because they inherited it. And if they got married, that property automatically was their husband's and not their own anymore. Excuse me. And many times when women were talked about or mentioned, they were a sentence in an obituary because they lost their husband or they they survived. They outlived their child, or they were listed under their parents' obituary. Um, there was a lot of photos and information that I was not able to obtain, so I had to really dig and see what kind of um, make educated guesses on what these women would have done, especially if they were married. Um, there were husbands who um, thought their wives were there to be a wife and raise their children and do all the chores that he didn't have time to do because he was working. Um, then there were the husbands whose wives would walk beside them. And though she couldn't make official legal decisions, and um, he would support her and take her decisions and make it as if they were his own so that she could accomplish her goals. And when you have a marriage like that, it is just built off of respect. And even when I read their stories now, I think about them, how they must have lived, how they fed their families, how they took care of their children, how they continued on after losing children. Some children never took a breath, others died before their 10th birthday because they had a now curable disease. I've read in this book also, towards the end, I have a memorial of all the children that were lost to the families that I have profiled in this book. And I use the word profile, but it's really a sketch of their family and how they lived and um, what they did for their community. And they didn't have to be famous or um, have a powerful person in their life. They just lived. There are many times that I would just go to cemeteries. Um, Most of the ones that in this one, I went to the Balsam Spa Village Cemetery and then also the Dunning Street Cemetery on Dunning Street in Malta. It started out as a Dunning farm, um, owned by Michael Dunning, and then it started as a family plot, where Michael's wife had his first wife passed away. She was the first one buried in the cemetery. Then the family was buried, and eventually it became a public cemetery. And going through there, I wrote down and made notes of people's names that were on the stones. And then I went back home and I tried to do some research on them because I wanted to know what their life was like. I never heard of them. And maybe the only people that did hear about them are descendants, or maybe their bloodline ended and that's where their story ended. And I don't want that. I think it is important for every single person to be able to be remembered. And that is why I also believe that family stories are just as important as stories that you tell your children when they're going to bed. Share your family stories, tell each other about your stories. Remember those that are lost or gone. And just because they lived 500, 200, 150 years ago doesn't mean they don't deserve to be remembered. And their contribution to life as they lived it was important. So this is the first video in a series of videos that I will be doing. And I hope that you continue to join me on this grand journey through a step back in time. Thank you.